jump back in here. As always, I don't know that I said it necessarily, but as always, we're a family, we're informal. You do not have to stay seated throughout the session. Get up, help yourself, go to the bathroom. But we'll jump back in here, all right? All right, so. Oh yeah, we are early. I have 11:15. Is that right?
11:01.
Yeah, you're like way ahead.
Yeah, I'm way ahead. Okay, I love it when that happens. I'm going to tell more stories. I'm just kidding. I love it. I'm usually always late, so this is awesome. But we are going to stop when lunch gets back here. So this is a bit more because we're going to be unpacking a little bit more. And you guys, please, on those papers that I gave you, I left some lines for notes that maybe, or thoughts that come up, or questions, or wait, what did you mean? So please jot that down, and we'll do our best to kind of answer those things. But Mark, you're leave at like 11:30 or so, 11:45 to pick up lunch for us. So the ancient for life. All right. So what does it look like? All right. Keep moving forward. What will look different? Check your papers. Fake professionals. Sorry about that. So let's start with the band. Okay, for the band. I've already had some one-on-ones through the summer. I met with some of the band individually and talked to our whole gang about digging in and digging deeper into their particular craft, their particular instrument, their part of the band. The band has already, the current band that's been scheduled over the last couple quarters, has been using a website called Worship Online. And you guys are going to hear that term. But it's not going to apply to everyone as of right now. There is a limited, you pay a subscription, and then they give you a ceiling on how many can be under for that amount. So currently, I'm at my max. I chose what I felt was best on that, and the band has already been using this website. It includes tutorials of most of the songs that we do, all of the newer songs, and most of the ones that we do. Each tutorial is stripped away to just drums, just bass, just guitar. It actually has just vocals, like a lead and some parts on those, just keys. So the idea of jumping into this was back in June that we started this way of preparing for worship. So we are not trying to steal away individuality, but we are, again, looking for the how to answer what's a big deal? Why are we changing? what are we after? So it helps create the foundation that is certain, that is solid, no matter which band members are in and out, okay? We are so blessed to have multi-talented people and many in one position. I know of churches bigger than ours who have one drummer. And we literally have 3 drummers, 4 drummers. Ryan is a drummer who's also talented as a bass player and was willing to step into that role. He started with us as a drummer because we had a hole to fill, we had a gap to fill. Prior, and this was just of recent years, we also had Bob Baumeister drumming, and then obviously his life changed a bit and eldership kind of took some priority, and then obviously Carol took priority even over that. We had a one-time 5 drummers in the church. Like that's very unheard of. That's very unusual. So God has brought us multiple people, and I believe when you are gifted in an area, and God is calling, then we're going to try to make a way to work this out. So that's why we do this kind of large rotation. However, on a particular instrument, we are looking for our band to be consistent, more consistent across the board. So, for example, Ryan's a bass player, Matt is one of our bass players, Dylan is one of our bass players. They play a little different. So we're using these tutorials to say, how are we playing it? How does the song go? So that also allows someone who's interested in joining the band. And the band is currently what we have on a Sunday. I've had people come and say, oh, do you guys need a trumpet? It's not that we don't need a trumpet, it's just that we're not going to use a trumpet. I'm going to be frank. We're not going to use a trumpet. We're not.
How about a jazz clarinet?
We kind of are working within a structure that is kind of what's being used right now. You know what's awesome about a trumpet player? They can play the cafe. We have them twice a year. You know what I mean? Like we're never going to criticize a different instrument, but we're not going to add, we kind of are using what we have currently. So if somebody's interested in getting involved, using these tutorials on Worship Online allows them to see exactly what is expected. We are different. We are not 25 people. We are not 40 people. We're not 75 people. Those were all little chunks that we went through. It is, we have to say, we're not going to, this sounds terrible, but just let you in because you're interested and you love to worship. We should all love to worship. But if we had a pastor who had a serious speaking impediment, thank you, I need more coffee, we would probably struggle to not be distracted. It does not mean God can't use that man in somebody's life or that woman in somebody's life, but we would probably struggle by the distraction. Make sense? We're doing the same thing with people who are interested in joining the band. We're asking that there's a level of skill. Those worship tutorials, worship online tutorials, are an immediate resource to how we play this song. Our goal, we're not perfect, but what we're shooting at, okay? So like I said before, that a caveat, we are not stripping away individual style. We're asking to kind of narrow the chasm, the difference between each player, okay? So like I said, we got different bass players, we got different drummers. We're asking that we can honor your individuality, we can honor your person, we can honor your level of giftedness, but we recognize that playing together as a band is not playing, in a coffee house or leading worship acoustic or leading alone. There is work that requires, and there's some honesty too that has to happen. And sometimes it just falls on me and I have to just call it out. But amongst one another, we can be honest about, I'm not there, that's not me. Or, I gotta rein it in. Maybe the gifting is I have this kind of capacity, but I recognize that I have to rein in what's happening so that I'm playing with the band, so that I'm, finding the fit, serving the song, serving the team. So some of the band, there's also been some discussion on the band. Don't freak out, band, but there's a thing called a click track. You guys have probably all know what we're talking about. That is something we may be discussing next steps, okay? Using a click track in our ears, that's a tempo thing. Currently, here was a shift we added. We didn't used to have any metronome. We didn't used to have any kind of guideline. We just kind of went from the gut, Back in the day when it was me and Bob and Paul and my brother Larry, it was like, I don't know, let's get together and play. And we practiced because we were learning new songs every week. 5 new songs sometimes as turning that over. But what we moved to is our drummer using a metronome, our instrumentalists, our band prepping with a metronome. I play with a metronome. I play with a click all the time, even the songs that I know. So we may be discussing using a click track for rehearsal. maybe using ClickTrack for church, I don't know. So I'm just saying those are things where we are going to see, does this work for us? We are not willing to say, but I'm good enough already. I'm pretty good and I'm good enough. We never want to have that. So if it's something that helps us improve, we may dig into that. So that's kind of band stuff. Look a little different than how it has looked. And again, for the band, you guys we met with back in June, you've already been diving into those tutorials. You've already been using that site. We're going to keep doing that. That's a new thing. What will look different on the stage? We will not be using the second keyboard. Notice how it ain't back there? It's gone. It's been gone for about 6 months, okay? Hopefully you've noticed that. We don't have it back there anymore, okay? We have also added pads. You have probably, if you've been here, recognized, I have been setting up my computer. We have a program called Ableton Live that has been, I will go all the way back to, Matt, help me remember the date. Compelled had come to play, led us in worship, maybe back before you guys. So, yeah, I'm saying it was 2005, I don't know. It was a while ago. No, not that long ago. 2012. I'm going to say 5 is way too long. 2012. It's because I still feel like this might be about 2008 in my head. So, 2012-ish. I had a conversation, I don't know if Matt remembers, because they were using these pads and these sounds, and some of them they had created themselves and put into the bank of sounds. And I said, what is that? What are you guys doing? Like, what is that? What am I hearing? It's just like lush and full, and what is it? Well, it's this program they would buy. It costs $1 gazillion. And I was like, oh, yeah. So this is not a new thing. This has been like a thought. It was why we used the second keyboard. Some of you guys who had participated in that, it was a very simple thing. We talked about holding strings, holding octaves, creating some of what we are currently have accomplished with the pads. The great news about this program is it was not $1 gazillion. It's a very stripped down version, and it allows us to basically accomplish what we were accomplishing with that second keyboard. Also, we had about 4 or 5, I think 5 at one time, same thing, that were on the rotation to play the second keyboard. However, life happens, and circumstances would happen. Illnesses happen, family happened, conflicts happened, and more often than not, we would schedule, and we did not have that position filled. We couldn't fill that. And you know what? That's okay. Sometimes the things that God is moving, have you ever been in this? You lost a job because God had a better job for you, but you didn't know it in the minute, right? You just thought, oh, it's lost. And God has a brand new thing that you would have never done. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's the loss of something that drives us to God has a better thing or a different thing, okay? So we aren't going to be using that second keyboard, and we're good with that, okay? Here's what I think will happen. Some of those people who were that second keyboard are already invested in other roles in music ministry. Some are uncertain about what those roles may be, but I believe God has a role. I believe that. Whether it's stage, and it may very well be in some capacity, whether it's sound, whether it's words, whether it's other things that we don't always highlight, but we have a kids ministry that is vibrant. I think we have about 50 or 60 kids that are involved in kids ministry. I think they're actually starting a new thing with our little ones, leading worship, right? Aren't we going to be doing anything like that soon, right? Bethy's going to be involved in that. So there are some things that are happening where you might have opportunity to use your gifts. Generally speaking, we have our Wednesday nights. Right now, because of the topics we're doing, we're not including that. But we lead worship, 3 or 4 songs on a Wednesday night. One guy on a guitar, one guy on a piano. Like it's very, it's more intimate, and it doesn't, include all the chaos of the scheduling. You know what I mean? The coordination. Our teens, we've got. I think Dave's was talking about who's going to be involved in the Pray For Me campaign. Raise your hand if you know. Not that I'm trying to put him on the spot, but I'm so excited about that. And Dave said right now that we have about 60 teams, 60 names. Now, they're not, there's always a rotation. We don't always have 60 teams show up on a Sunday night for a youth group, but this is the next church. So we have opportunity even in possibilities of ways to serve in ministry, in worship with our teens. So just because that role is no more, doesn't mean there's not going to be a place for you to continue to serve in our ministry. I want to talk about one other thing, this is a bit of a side note, about opportunities to serve. This year, as every year, we're doing a Christmas cantata. It is, as of today, still unchosen. I don't like anything I've heard so far, so I am still working on that, but I know we're going to find the right one. God always somehow we know what it's going to be. It's going to be great. And we can have you all involved. There's opportunity there to be involved in choir, a Christmas choir that you're used to. On top of that, can I tell you a secret? Who remembers when we did the story? That was the whole cantata. We're doing it for Easter this year. We're going to do it on Good Friday, and we're going to do it for 2 Sunday services on Easter. So, buckle up, because it's going to be awesome. It's going to be work. The great thing about that one is a lot of us did it, so that right away we're already, we got like a head start, like we started 15 feet ahead of the old guy. But that, I really do think that it's going to be powerful for our church. And we have not generally done an Easter thing like that, but that one is just stellar. It's such a great one, and I do feel like our people really rose to the challenge and tackled that thing, and it's a beautiful, beautiful ministry. So, those are other places, even outside of, just a Sunday morning opportunity where all of you are invited to be part of the choir, and then obviously that's a church-wide invitation as well. But those are a couple of things coming up. So pray on those already as we're starting that process. Mostly pray that we find a good Christmas cantata. All right, so got kind of what looks different for the band, what looks different on the stage, what looks different for the vocalists, okay? Now, to me, honestly, this is the most exciting change, but it's also the biggest change. This is going to be the biggest change from kind of what has been our standard, okay? Although I wouldn't say that it's way bigger, because asking the band to do what they're doing in their preparation, that's a stretch for our band, okay? And some people will find that they can't hang, and that's fine. God is gonna open that opportunity for them somewhere else, and some are gonna find that they gotta really rein it in. So there's a challenge there for our band. For our vocalists, we are going to shift from having 4 mic'd vocalists any given Sunday to having 2 mic'd vocalists, okay? Some of this decision, a very small part, but some of this decision was made simply because it has been difficult to consistently schedule 4 vocalists. And that, again, is part of why we do the rotations the way that we do. I was listening to I was at a conference where Catherine Scott spoke, and she said their team works on like a 3-month on, and then a 3-month off, and then sometimes a 6-month off, and then back to a 3-month on, and every year, everyone is reevaluated as part of the team. Now, if you asked me, or if I said to you, I need your next 3 months and your firstborn, like that would be tough for our group. So we have never kind of done it that way. We have always done it with, here's the quarter, you tell me when you're available, then I'll schedule you. Now you better show up. But you tell me when you're available, okay? We have, if you've noticed, again, we're at summertime, we're in and out, but over the last 6 months, especially the summer, it has been tough to have 4 vocalists of our about 15 available each week. It's been tough to do. So some of it, little part of it comes from that. okay? And again, that's not bad. That's not bad. That's life circumstances and no stone to throw at that. It's just a recognition of calling out what actually is, okay? So we are going to have two groups of vocalists, and this is what we're going to call them, for lack of a better term. Maybe you guys can come up with something fancy. Lead vocals and choir vocals, okay? I thought about worship vocals, and I thought, we're all worship. We're all worship. So that doesn't sound quite right either. Lead vocals and choir vocals, okay? Let's start with our choir vocals, all right? We are talking about all of our vocalists who are currently involved. All of our vocalists who are currently involved, currently serving, but especially, you're gonna hear your name, you don't have to say I, especially Ron, Bob, Tony, Jen, Becky, Ellen, Damon, and Kimmy, okay? That's the bulk, and again, all our vocalists are considered choir vocalists. You'll see what we're talking about when we get to the vocalists I did not mention, okay? We're gonna get to them in a minute. All right, how will this work with our choir vocalists? Let me just say this too. If you're sitting here and we digest all this and you go before the Lord, I don't think that's what I'm supposed to do. And you need to say, I might need to step back, I need to break, I need to digest. That's cool. There's no stone to throw. When we're doing things that look different, we'll bite that. I'll take that. You know what I mean? We'll bite that bullet. Because I'm not judging your heart. Absolutely not. I won't do that. And I hope that you won't judge mine in the choices and the decisions and the things that we're moving into. But nobody's getting paid, remember? So it's literally, this is as God is opening and allowing for you. That's what we want to follow. Okay? I just feel like that's important to say, because if it's your job and they say here's your new position, you usually don't have a lot to say about it. You're doing what they're asking you to do. That's not how we function. You guys know that. Okay? Choir vocals, how will it work? First of all, we're going to move that big blue riser. It's going to be gone. We are replacing that and probably shifting a bit to a 3-tiered riser that I actually have in the back hall. It just arrived on Tuesday. He said it was coming in one piece, and so we paid all this extra for a lift, and then it was in 3 pieces and picked it up easy. I think who was here to help that day? Mark was here, and somebody was here working in the booth, so it was no problem. But we have a 3-tiered choir loft, okay? That will hold more probably than what we would have on a given Sunday. So I think side by side it holds like 20, which we will never be side by side. You guys see how we got to spread out. You know what I mean? Like, you got to leave room for the Holy Spirit. There's, like, we got room here, okay? But we have that, okay? We will readjust these wedges. Currently, one is there because of this morning, but generally, if you guys have noticed, we've got 2 wedges on the floor. Because our lead vocalists will be mic'd, they'll probably be there or maybe a bit, but they won't need these wedges anymore, okay? Some of our drive behind this is we have had a struggle for that blue stage to hear what's happening. And we're trying to work these kinks out, okay? So a wedge or 2, depending on the setup, this is part of the hanging on and being patient in the change, will go in front of the choir risers, okay? So that you, as choir vocalists, will hear the music. We will likely pipe in a lead vocalist, probably myself, because I like to say things that you guys might want to respond to, like, sing, okay? And eventually we are considering, you guys see these 3 that are hanging here? They're so-so. But we may get a better choir, not condenser, what's it called?
Omni.
Say it again?
Omni.
Yeah, Omni, like a choir mic, okay, that we may use for you guys. And that's just the idea of being able to produce not an individual vocal, not an individual mic, but produce kind of some of that choir fullness in the house, okay? That's all kind of, we'll get to those parts, all right? What I would love to see this develop into is an every week opportunity to serve, an every week opportunity to have backing choir vocals behind our lead vocals, okay? We're going to start out with a choir vocal group being scheduled on the 1st of the month. So it will be October 7th, November 4th, December 2nd, okay, for this quarter, plus the praise service, which is 11/18. Okay, that's our Thanksgiving praise service. If you guys have noticed, we've only done it in the summertime. We've shifted into having a worship morning, like a time of worship. There was no preaching. We did one July 15th. It was awesome. We actually moved all the chairs, and it was cool. I love when the chairs are like that. We are going to continue to do that once a quarter. So our fall quarter is the Thanksgiving service, our praise service. We'll be doing the winter quarter, spring quarter, summer quarter. So aside from the first Sundays of the month, that is our kind of special service this quarter around, okay? As we see it develop, as we kind of hit our stride and know what we're doing in there, we're going to start to add maybe first and third Sundays, okay? So first and third Sundays, choir vocals would be scheduled and would have the opportunity to participate. Choir vocals, this is going to differ a bit from lead vocals, are not required, will not be required to sing certain parts. However, you can sing any part you want to sing, okay? If on a Sunday morning, you're sitting there and you float from the melody into a harmony part, great, right? No holds barred. You can do that. You can sing. You can stop singing when you're bawling. You can get on your face. You can be free, more free, and that is the intention of what we're trying to do with unmiking our choir vocals. Okay, we're trying to reflect the same sincerity, because again, I'm not looking at the heart. God knows. I'm looking at what I believe true worshipers look like, and that's you guys. But that same heart that is not bound or hindered by, where's the interlude? Wait a second, are those the right words? So, some of those things that don't happen when we're sitting in the blue seats on Sunday. When Kylie leads and I'm here, it's like freedom. I have a different sense, and I think that's a healthy, good thing. And that's that idea that while you are leading worship, I've said this before, many of you have led worship from your seats, and it blesses me in a way you can't even understand. And that's the same thing we're saying. We want that same thing to lead our church, okay? So you're kind of even spontaneous ad-libbing. You have a lot more freedom because you're not bound to a mic, okay? I hope that's making sense to you guys, all right? The choir vocals will rehearse together. For this upcoming quarter, we are working out the kinks, so we're gonna have some tension in this. But the upcoming quarter, we are looking to make practices as close to what we've all seen as we can, but about 5:30-ish or 6-ish will be when the choir vocals will arrive and rehearse. Our band is going to be shifting on those first Sundays of the month to a 4 o'clock arrival. Our lead vocals no later than 4:30, and our choir vocals at 5:30. For the first go-around, and we'll talk more in the scheduling when we get to that this afternoon, but in the first go-around, we are going to get all the choir vocals who are able to participate that day, and they're going to come in, and then we're going to work out all the kinks. So get ready for that, because that will be sometime. Our band, I don't know who's scheduled for the 7th, but they're going to take extra chill pills, and they're going to we're going to write it all out. We're going to see how the whole thing goes. They may be here a little longer than normal. Bless you. But we'll figure out how that's going to work. But they will be rehearsing together. We'll figure out adjustments as we get feedback, as we again kind of hit our stride and know how it works, okay? Those choir vocals will probably rehearse off stage, all right? And I'm super excited about that. We will probably rehearse in a youth room or a classroom. We'll still do a devotion time. We'll still do a prayer time. We'll still run all the songs in the set. But the feel of that rehearsal will be without kind of the, I don't want to call it chaos because it's beautiful chaos, but the chaos of the band. You know what I'm saying? So we will rehearse with piano, with guitar. It'll be a more acoustic-y thing. And I love it. I literally can't wait to be just that, kind of like what we did today, just singing. And you don't have anybody telling you, sing here, no, you're singing the wrong part. We're just gonna sing. We're gonna sing the songs, we're gonna sing the set. You are still gonna get cheat charts, you're still gonna know what's coming, what the flow of the day looks like, so you're not gonna be out of the loop, okay? The expectation of the choir vocals won't change as far as your preparation. It won't be like, I'm there, not there, doesn't matter, not going to show up, don't need to rehearse, don't need to run the songs, not much anyway. If that, I don't believe it, I keep saying this because I'm trusting and believe you guys, that I don't think would be the heart here. I just don't. If you find that popping up, go back to what is making me feel that way. The pride? Am I insecure about what I'm doing? What is it? Like, let's define it and then kick it out. If it's ugly, kick it out. But you have as much responsibility as you ever had with preparation. YouTube links, Spotify, and for all you special guests who are not currently involved, we're going to talk about some of those things that we use because I believe God may be opening the door for you to jump in. If not now, if 3 months from now, a year from now, wherever it may be. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. But you guys who are currently part of our team, you know the YouTube links, the Spotify. You're going to, like I said, just keep on getting the cheat charts. So that preparation doesn't change. Okay, your presence in leading worship doesn't change. If anything, we're just hoping to expand it, okay? Choir vocals will still have a Sunday morning sound check, Sunday morning run through, so we're still meeting at 8 o'clock. Having just called that a run through, let me back up. We have to continue to press toward Sunday morning sound check versus Sunday morning run through. It is fully my fault. I take all the blame. Mark every time says to me, Dana, he walks by here, Dana, because it's time for prayer huddle, and I'm like, I close my eyes like I'm like you did, just walking by. Like, we have got to get back to prayer huddle off the stage at 8:35. So, I don't know, maybe like, remember the Gong Show? I barely remember because I'm not that old, but it's reruns. And it had like a hook, like they would get the hook and pull the guy off the stage when they were terrible. We might have to pull one of those out, but we have to get back to that. Sunday morning is not a second rehearsal. What we've done on Saturday night is good, and we're going to give it to God, and we're going to let it go. But we will still get the choir in here on Sunday morning. She'll need to be here at 8, and we'll do our sound check. And a bit of a run through that day. Okay, we have to reboot and get off the stage. And I say we, but I know it's me. Because I know you guys won't go anywhere until I let you go. So, all right, that's kind of the choir vocal in a nutshell. Pam.
And I think that thank you again, sound team should unplug you at 8:35.
Hit mute on the entire thing, bring down the whole thing. Absolutely right. It's not a bad idea.
Yeah, we're gonna stop.
You're right. I absolutely agree with that. You guys all heard it. Thanks, Pam.
I'm just saying.
I totally agree.
It's so hard.
It is.
Because you're into it, but
Right.
you have to keep the time, and
Yep.
I think that's a way to help.
That's actually not bad. That really is not a bad idea, honestly. So we're gonna be getting off the stage 8:45. Now, why do we get off the stage? Yeah, you can hit the bathroom. Yeah, you can visit somebody, but we get off the stage so we can go back to prayer huddle. That's why we're getting off the stage. Prayer huddle, I'll just say this, I'll put this out here for kids ministry, and anybody else who's involved in grading or nursery or anything else. If you're here involved to serve that day, you are as valuable. What does the Bible say about the gifts that are seen are good, but the gifts that are unseen are even better? Like the parts of the body that are unseen are more valuable, right? I can make it without an arm. I can't make it well without a heart. So the unseen gifts and the places that we're serving are vital to what we're doing here as a church family. So get back to prayer huddle. We all need to be back there together. So we have to kind of covenant together and mutiny, and we'll move on. So, all right, let's talk a bit about the unmentioned vocalist that I did not say specifically. Our lead vocals, we're going to call them our lead vocals. They will be Kathy, Melissa, Kara, Emily, Leah, Kelly, and Jason. Okay? Now, trying to define this and determine how we were going to get here, this was a bit of a struggle, and this was some prayer, and this was kind of allowing some things to open and close and be led, and it was a bit out of my comfort because I don't like to do that. But I feel confident on where I landed for starters. Okay? This is for starters. None of this is written, like Mark said, it's not on your gravestone. You know, whomever, Kara Ott, lead vocal. Like that's not part of who you are. It's just for starters. Okay? This is a group of vocalists who will be mic'd on rotation and will continue to rotate pretty much like we already have. Okay? That's going to be that group. These are the vocalists who have all used in-ear monitoring. Okay? They have all been part of the special music rotation. And they are all versatile in hearing and singing harmonies. Okay? That was kind of, some of you guys are like, oh, they're in that category, but then there's this that's not. So I really just had to put before the Lord, give me this real piece about where we are, again, for starters. And that's where I landed. So that's this group. Now, before anybody jumps on, they're special. They're not special. If you're a lead vocalist, say out loud, I'm not special. I'm not special. We're not special. Okay, you're all special. But what we're doing is saying we have to categorize something in order to help us better expand, in order to help us meet some of the goals that we're looking to meet and better lead the church. Okay? So when I met in June with our band, I met in June with those 6 vocalists. And 7 vocalists? I don't know how to count. We discussed some of the additional responsibility/requirements of that role, of that position. Okay? They are also using the Worship Online tutorials. They were included in that, the group that has access that we paid for. They're using the tutorials. The tutorials have lead, altos, and tenor parts. We're asking, the same way that we're kind of asking/requiring our band to play like the record, we're asking our lead vocals to be more in line with what is being sung. Keeping in mind the caveat that some of the songs only have 2 parts. Some of the songs are in keys where it's the male lead, and we've shifted those things. So we kind of recognize there are places where we've got some latitude, but we're not learning on a Saturday night apart. That is not our intention. With these lead vocals, they're kind of, in one way, coming a little bit more in line. So there's a little bit more strapping on them. Okay? They're responsible to know the things before they come in. This helps us run a more efficient rehearsal, okay, on a more regular basis. I've also told them, and I have been slack in this because of some of our summer issues, but I told them in June, I'm sending emails, I'm sending with blogs, with podcasts, with videos that pertain to leading vocals, that pertain to blending, that pertain to breath control, that pertain to ways that we stretch ourselves as lead vocalists. So I'm asking them to improve more, to take bigger steps than I'm asking the choir vocals to take in fulfilling this role, okay? In addition, they will need to be more available. More, obviously, with 2 vocals, we're going to be turning around a little bit more often. Some of that won't show up right away, but in addition to leading on Sundays on rotation, those vocals, I also have given the info to them that as we shift into choir choir vocal rehearsals, they will be taking turns leading the choir. Okay, so not this, but being the guy instead of me that's leading the vocals. If you lead, you gotta have a follower, right? Your lead vocalist, you're leading some of those rehearsals. Now, it's uncertain, it's all the working it out. We don't know exactly how it's gonna go, we have to get into it to see it work. I will probably be taking this quarter. I'm not expecting that we're gonna have all our, ducks in a row quite yet. But on top of, so that's all stuff that we talked about. On top of that, there has to be, this should be across the board, a faithful presence at Hope. This should be across the board. If I just see you when you're scheduled, dig down and ask what's going on. Okay, yourself. I'm not going to point at you. Dig down and find out. There should be a faithful presence of people who are serving in this ministry, and without jumping on the bandwagon, people who are in stage ministry. Stage ministry has its own whole set, its own target on your back. It just does, and the enemy knows it. But there's a target there, and there's a witness there. If we're ambassadors for Christ, if we are his ambassadors, we have to show up to speak up, right? We have to be here. So there should be a faithful presence, period. So check that amongst yourselves. But in that group of lead vocals, and band, but lead vocals, that faithful presence, whether you're scheduled or not, okay? So that's already, it's one of the things we discussed as well. If you're here because you're leading worship from your blue chair, just as much as you do on a Sunday morning. So that naturalness, yeah, we get sick, yeah, we have vacation, but I'll put this in there, I'm not trying to guilt anybody, but if Mark had the same I'll go attitude as your own, check your own, would you stay at that church? Make sense? If our pastor said, I'll go as often as I go, would we 3 out of 4 weeks not have pastor? You know what I mean? I'm just saying that's your own thing. I have nobody in my head when I'm speaking this. I'm just putting this out that the faithful presence, it's important. It's important. And among our lead vocals, we've kind of already said that has to be a step up from kind of what we would say our choir, vocals, etc. Okay, make sense? Before I talk about how we would get new people on board, okay, how we would include those of you who are kind of special guests here today, as you're interested in godliness, I want to mention 2 things, and these are important. Okay. First, well, I already said it. These 2 groupings are not forever groupings. This is not, oh, this is my category and that's me until the day I die. 1, you're a volunteer. You can walk away. That's, I hope you don't. But you can. 2, it is not a forever thing. Okay? There may be somebody in our lead vocal group who's like, oh yeah, we did talk about that. Or, oh yeah, Dana said she was going to get more into that. And you know what? I don't think I can commit to that level. And that's okay. And they go, but you know what? I would love to be part of the choir vocals. And that's okay. All right? Now, if you all bail, you'll be meeting on a Sunday, so please don't do that. But I'm just saying that can happen. We recognize life comes. And we have those times. I don't know among everybody here, but I almost feel like I could say across the board, I feel like I've had at least everyone say, I need a quarter off. I need to step back for this quarter. Maybe not everyone. There's a few of you guys who have been faithful. And not to say that that's not faithful. That's being faithful to life. That's being faithful to callings. You know what I mean? You got sick, you got issues, you got job stuff, you got home stuff you need to deal with. That's okay. So taking those quarters, never a problem. Where was I going with it? Well, that happens, and that's okay. That's how we function. That's how I believe that we serve each other with that. But that might be, somebody may say, I just know I can't XYZ in that group, and you can talk to me about it, and we'll have more follow-up. Obviously, I'm not going anywhere. There may be somebody in the choir vocal who's the choir group, and they have served faithfully, and they feel like they see God opening a door for a possibility to jump into a lead role. I never ever want this to come across like you're here until you've attained this. That's retarded. Oh, we're not supposed to say that anymore. That's ridiculous. I think that's not PC. I'm sorry. Oh dear. You guys know. We're not, oh, when I get here, then I'll be a shining star. Every single person in this body is a child of God or is on their way, seeking, and has a place in the church. Your position, I heard somebody say it this way, your position, your role is just God's timing in your life. It's His hand. It's His time. It's nothing that you've attained. It's in this like long line of eternity past, and this just happens to be the minute that we're on the planet. That's all. And we're not that fantastic. We do our part, and then we're done. And so, God help us that we've left a good thing for our next generation, that we're not that special, if you know what I mean, even though you're all special. Okay, so it's not, oh, I'll get there. It's, this is my role, I'm faithful in it, or this is my role, and I'm faithful in it, or I find where God has me because I want to be faithful in it. Make sense? Okay, so if there's somebody who says, I feel like this is maybe something God's called me to. I do have that passion. I do have that presence. I do have that countenance. I'm not thrown off by whatever it may be. Vocally, I feel like I have, the chops. I have the whatever, or even band. We'll talk about that. I want to pursue that because I feel God's pushing me and prompting me into it. We will audition you as a lead vocalist. Okay, so whether you're new or whether you're in that grouping, we will do that. We will figure out how that looks like. It will probably be more stringent because we are already, as you've heard, we're already talking about things beyond what we have done so far. Okay, stepping into that role requires a bit more weight, a bit more to hold. All right, so but we will figure that out. We'll be honest about the level of giftedness and calling with grace, okay? But that's something that is absolutely doable. So that's important for you to know that. Second, and this is, I think, maybe more important even than the first, is the beauty of developing a choir vocal kind of thing, which we have not done here at Hope. I feel like it's tremendous. I think it's more weighty than what you think, okay? I feel like there's massive opportunities to represent a church that loves to worship by being those people up front who say, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I'll raise my hands in obedience. I'm not afraid. I'll raise my hands, Todah. I'll raise my hands, one of our praise words, before the promise has come. I want to reflect that. I want to do that. So I have opportunity to do that, model that for a church who loves to worship. And we have a church that hoots and hollers. Have you guys been to the 9? Man, I mean, it's like these people are hopping. So that there is something there that's exciting, as what Mark talked about. There's like that energy that happens because you're together. So we want to do it. But a church that loves worship, a church that models a love of worshiping, okay? So I feel like there are these responsibilities in this choir vocals. Certainly in our lead vocals. Oftentimes I wish I had a third hand because I think I really want to play that note, but I just can't because I'm just like invested in this moment right here. You know what I mean? Like, so that should be part of who we are, whatever it looks like. But I do feel like this with this choir vocal development idea. I feel like it's an awesome way to connect to our next generation. And I'm going to point some girls out. Bethany, I always call her Bethany, and Rael are two girls who they led in worship when our teens led a few weeks ago. They've been involved in our choir. They've been involved in cafes. There are a couple of the girls. Now that's only a couple. There are more, but I just kind of said, Lord, just guide me to whom you may have me include on this day. Up until kind of what we're doing here, we've asked that people be seniors or graduating to kind of come into these roles. Some of it is just because some of you don't drive, some of you got other schedules, you got a school schedule, you got somebody else telling you when you can and when you can't. As an adult, you might have a boss that's doing that, but you kind of have a little more, you have a little more sway in your own life, okay? So some of it we just did kind of, just logistically, it's difficult to say, well, am I scheduling a teenager or am I scheduling their mom? Because I need to know that mom can get them here, right? So some of it's just that, but something like this allows us to reach down a bit further. On the other side, let me go back to that, logistically, but also, there's a big weight to what we have been doing so far. We have you audition, we have you sing for us, we critique you, oh, and play, whatever place it may be, we critique you, and then we say, you're so good, but it's not going to fit. So it feels like a hard yes or a hard no, like I said, Lord bless you. And I don't know that we're doing our best at that, with it just being a yes or a no. Make sense? So what we do is go, do we have some of our youth who have a heart to worship and a heart to serve, and they've seen it modeled, and we go, come alongside. We don't have to be, we will still audition people coming in. We will still audition, we will hear you sing. But if you can sing in a choir, if you can sing in a blending without, an individual mind, it's going to be a bit more inclusive. And I think that's a really good thing. So as we look to our next generation, we got a little wiggle room, you know what I mean, to get them in, to get them serving with the adults who have been carrying the load. You know what I mean? Like cross-generation thing is so important as we look at ministry and, kind of, I always say tomorrow's church, and then I get critiqued for that because they're today's church. They are literally taking Jesus into places we don't go, into school, into bullying situations, into, their friends are, smoking pot. They're taking Jesus there. We probably are not in those same places. So they are today's church, but in sense of, they're leading. We don't have 10-year-old elders, we don't have a pastor that's 12. They're not quite there. But they are what's coming behind us. We won't be here forever. You know what I mean? I won't be doing this forever. We have next generation coming up, and that's a good thing. It can also be the opportunity to pattern worship from the stage without the hindrances we've talked about before, okay? It is not a lesser position. I know I already said that. It's not like we've attained because you're a lead worshiper and you haven't. It's not a lesser position. It's a role. It's a placement. It's where, I think God is asking us to serve. We understand and we talk about this idea that as worship leaders, as, stage ministry, that we should be invisible and that people should only see God. Yeah, but we are not actually invisible. We are standing there. Okay, so what does it mean? What does that mean? Yes, it's not to draw some specific attention in that sense that, it is about Jesus. It is, that the church would see Jesus. But I think the better terminology is that we are a reflection, kind of what Mark said, reflection of worship that is currently happening around the throne. From everlasting to everlasting, every one after the next, holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, holy, holy, holy. Can you imagine? It blows my mind. But that opportunity to reflect worship so that people recognize and the conduit to God the Father, our good Father, Lord Almighty. You know what I mean? That we reflect it. So, if we're reflectors of it to our church, we should know what it looks like. We should be people whose hearts, whose countenance expresses, whose even, physical body language expresses, God, you are good. You are good. And that's the opportunity we have as kind of unfettered, unhindered by standing behind a mic. You know what I mean? The idea of lead worship, lead worshipers, or lead vocals. Mark has said this many times. A leader is the person who gets to do the right thing first. That's what a leader should be. You're the one who gets to do so if you're the man, you're the head of your home, you just get to do the right thing first. Mark's like, you just get to say you're sorry first. That's leading, is just doing the right thing first. When we're leading in worship, what's the right thing? Whatever your physical expression of that is, the right thing is obedience to sing praise. Let everything give praise, right? So we get to do that, and we get to model that for one another and for our church. I think there are times when people come in and their hearts are blown up because they've been through something, or found out something, or lost a job, or lost a loved one, or got a diagnosis, or whatever. And they just need to see a brother or a sister say, God is good. He's still good. He's still good. And so that's what we get to do for one another and with one another as a church body. And I feel like that opportunity as choir vocals is really maybe more expansive. And I'm hoping that that's something that we'll see develop more and more. I want to tell you guys a quick story, and I already asked Jen if I get to talk about her little Ariana. But I want to tell you guys this because literally, brought me to tears. I know that's a shock, because I never cry. But so it was a couple of weeks ago, and then she was on again. Jen was on again, scheduled this last week. And Ariana is 4th grade?
Yeah.
Ariana's 4th grade, going into 4th grade. And she was on a few weeks ago when it first hit me, and I reached out to Jen and said, can I please talk about Ariana? Just because I was just so shaken and wrecked by her sense of just unfettered worship. So we're here at practice. She comes up, Ariana comes up on stage, we're singing. She comes on stage, the words are up there. I'm telling you, she did a full one-man show. Who was here that night? Who remembers it a few nights ago? It was just beautiful. She never stopped. She never stopped. She sang the words. When it was, everlasting God, she was just absolutely fully engaged. Now, it may have come off the fact that we just finished VBS. And what I love about VBS and our kids ministry is our kids need to move. If you watch your little one, you don't teach your kids to dance. I have a video of Kylie, and she's a year, maybe she's Kara was just not quite born, so Kylie's maybe 13 months old. We have a video of her, music comes on at Hershey Park, or wherever we were, Hershey World, and she's doing a dance. I didn't say dance, monkey. It's in us. So there is a natural response, and I love that our kids are being taught how to praise God, how to praise God, what worship can be. You know what I mean? And so it could be that she was influenced by her week at VBS, which I'm so glad she was here for. But regardless, she was here, and this whole stage was her whole world. She just never stopped. She sang every song. She made up motions. She made up and it was just, I'm playing the piano. I'm just oh my it just blew me away that this is the opportunity. This is what is in front of us. We're going to die and be gone. Or we're going to be old and not be able to carry a tune. That's fine, right? We have our minute on the planet, and then the next one comes. The kingdom of God and His plan and His agenda will continue. It always has. It's His story in the first place. We didn't make it up. We didn't think, let's build drum cage and have drum on a Sunday. We didn't do that. This is just our place in time. So we want to be faithful to it. But the thing that got me about Ariana was she didn't one time hold a microphone up as she was singing. Not one time. What's been modeled for her, and I don't want to embarrass Jen, but what's been modeled for her is a mom who has started rehearsal with, can you guys please pray for me? This is what's up. And stand there in rehearsal. You are good, good. And that's what's coming across to our next gen. That's what's coming across to one another. That's what matters. Not, let's go for the mic today. You know what I mean? I think there are times, and I'll go back with Jen. There have been times when Jen's had to step out for the quarter. She's got 4 little girls. Like, she's, this is not nothing. Life is life. She's had to step out for a quarter. And she's standing on the front row, and there's her kids beside her. Rachel's beside her. Rachel. And, like, they see mom, and they're doing what mom's doing, not because she's standing behind a mic, not because she's scheduled, twice a month instead of, once a month. It's not that. And I just feel like that was just so profound as I considered Ariana. And I want to share that with you. I just want to go, there's something that's happening that we are responsible for. And God forbid that our egos or our insecurities or our tensions or anxiety would get in the way. That we would just be people who would say, where do you want me, God? Where do you want me? Where do you want me? And I believe and trust that that's our heart. I do. So that was just a huge thing. That's the stuff that we have the privilege and opportunity to be a part of, and it was awesome. So I had asked Jen, can I please talk about your daughter? And she was like, absolutely. So thank you. And I don't think it's just Ariana. I think we probably would see that, through our kids and through what's happening in our church. So, all right, let me just talk about new people. As new people, so kind of the vocalists, lead vocals, choir vocals, how we get new people involved. Generally speaking, we have had kind of like a, hey, are you here for like a 3-month, you've been at kind of faithful attendance over 3 months, right? Some of you guys have been here way longer than that. Is this your church home? Is this where you feel like God has called you? Has He called you to this church? Have you been able to discern that from His Spirit in whatever it is? Mark's not preaching heresy. That's good, check. All right, the people, are nice, the coffee's okay, check. Whatever the things are that you're finding, my kids are plugged in, I'm happy, I see what's happening, I feel the Holy Spirit at work. Those things that help us find, is this my church home, okay? It is different than popping in and out. When we're popping in and out, regularity of attendance, not 100% with Gold Star. That doesn't happen. We're human beings. But a regularity of attendance over at least kind of a 3-month, where you're not just boom, I'm there, and then 6 months later, boom, I'm there. Oh, I've been here for years. We're talking about, you guys know what I mean, okay? That's what we get with our new people. We do start vocalists. We start with an audition, and that's going to be even coming in. Everybody will come in through, that sounds dumb because it sounds like we're going somewhere. I don't mean it that way. You will come into our team by joining our choir vocals. That's kind of our first place to sit, and you may stay there, and that's cool. We're not generally going to pop right into the lead vocal unless God has really made it clear, and then we're going to be listening for His Spirit. And He's really made it clear, then we're not gonna mince words. If that's His plan, we're going to be very intentional about that then. But we'll still start with an audition. We will still find out, can you sing in tune? Can you sing in tune, and can you blend? Can you blend? Now, there is a difference in what we used to do, where this kind of became a hard no, is it became, you can sing in tune for 3/4 of the song, or maybe you can for the whole song, but then when we move keys from like G to D, suddenly you're still singing in G. And then we were like, oh dear, okay. So we had to have, I had way too many conversations to really just go back and say, in grace, I don't think God's called you to this. But I know He's called you somewhere. So that helps us. We will still audition. We are still not going to just be like, who remembers what's the Christmas movie that we like with the Grinch? At the end where the Grinch is singing, remember that one? Oh, come on, you people didn't watch this movie. He's like, he's way off. He's not even close. Not even close. We're not talking about that. We're talking about people who are gifted, who feel called, who feel called to lead in singing. So we will still do auditions. They will still have to commit to weekly rehearsals. We are still going to rehearse, okay? Rehearsals, musicians are going to come out. They're going to start by sitting in on the band rehearsals. They're going to be playing instruments and one-on-one. We're going to be doing some of this. This is where our band is kind of stepping up into some more leadership roles, one-on-one. If you have a guitar player, you're going to get one of our guitar players who will play with you. You're playing strum patterns right. Are you playing what we play? Do you fit? Is it fitting? Is it going to be that foundation we're talking about being consistent across the board? If I go from you to you, I should hear the same thing, given the personal nuances, which is something, but am I hearing the same thing? Is structure solid? Okay? We're going to ask our musicians coming in to do that. We'll assess their abilities to read chord charts. We're going to, what can you do? What can you add here? And do we fit? Do we fit? Playing in a band is different than playing alone. So we're finding those things, all right? Then they would be getting the tutorials. They would be getting tutorials and personal preparation. Are we committed to personal preparation? All right, so that's kind of where we're going to start with the choir, lead choir, band stepping up their game, and then getting new people kind of onboarded. Okay, that's where we're going to go. I believe that God is calling us to step out in faith, to be willing to stretch from what we have been, not to get lazy in this massively important responsibility that He's called us to. And I haven't talked a lot about the heart versus the structure or the form today. We've done that, and I'll talk with you in 5 minutes. You'll know if your heart is off. That's way more valuable than you're a killer guitar player. I don't care. Can I say this? We've had that. I have interacted and played with musicians that are incredible. That when push comes to shove, or there's been a leadership issue, there's been love, and sometimes that it's a reflection of what's happening there. Maybe you thought this was something that it's not. And that's okay, but it's not. You know what I mean? So we haven't really got into that. I'm just going to go with, most of you guys have heard that at every other workshop we've done, and on any given Sunday we do devotions together, that we're talking about hearts that are soft, hearts that are receptive, hearts that are surrendered, and so that kind of will leave aside. This is more of the form and how the technical aspects of leading worship are. We can get really caught in the, well, who cares? If my heart's right, God says make a joyful noise. Okay. I'll just say okay. Because you guys find any fault with that? I just am, if we say, it doesn't matter, we should just be able to use whatever I have, because, it's the heart, God looks at the heart. Conversation with you if there's, what I mean? I don't think that that's what God is actually asking when He calls us into positions. What if He did that with our parenting? I don't know, they're okay. It doesn't matter. We're called to much more than that in our parenting, and I think He's called us to much more than that as brothers and sisters and as church family and as people in positions to serve the body. Okay? So, let me just say this as far as stuff that's coming into our next session, which is here, but not quite set up, so don't turn around and look at Mark, anyone. That's going to be good, I'll turn around. I have already collected availability from our lead vocals. I did that when I asked you guys to give me all of September, remember? And you guys were awesome, and we got all of September scheduled. September will continue just like it has. Some of this was the ins and outs of how are we going to do this as we're making the change, because we're already kind of like chugging along into the quarter here. So we tried to do our best on that. I usually collect availability for 3 months at a time. We are going to get into all the scheduling with Planning Center, which you guys are going to love. You're going to love it. I'm not kidding. It feels like, oh dear, more new. It is new. It is new, but you're gonna love it. It's gonna be great. And Emily has done a bunch of work to get the back part of it set up, and she's gonna talk about it after lunch. But I have already collected availability for the lead vocals, and I have them scheduled for October and November, okay? So they are currently scheduled. I will be asking for everybody who I mentioned in the, oh, here I go again. Oh, I can literally but can I give this to you, Elle? This just has on here October 7th, November 4th, November 18th, and December 2nd. Thank you. And it just says, yeah, I can serve. No, I'm sorry, I can't serve. Okay? Some of you already know. You already know your availability. Some of you guys are like me, and I have my calendar on my phone. So you can check. If you may not know, and that's okay. But if you guys would just pass that around among our vocalists, or it's there and I'll leave it right up here during lunch, okay? We can do that. Write in your names, okay? I will need to know that. You're going to hear more about how you get scheduled with Planning Center. We'll touch on that. But that's this idea currently, okay? Now, there's a caveat. Another caveat, that's my favorite word today, on this. We will have to have more than 2, maybe, or 1 or 3 choir vocals in order for this to not look odd. Like suddenly there's like, why are those people, what's going on up there today? It will be odd and confusing, and we're not trying to confuse anybody, one another, or a church, okay? So I'm hoping and believing, I am believing that we will see most, if not all, of our choir vocalists be able to be involved on these 4 times. Now, like I said, some of you already know your schedule. Some of you already know I can't be there. And that's fine, because that's the same thing we do with availability. We trust God to fill those gaps, to fill those holes. But if you're like, okay, I'm in, I'm available, it would kind of be like the same idea as, when I give you hey, I'm not available here, I'm not available, just write it, yes, I'm available, whatever. I think I would love to see maybe more right up front than what we might eventually shake out into, because I think there's something about the newness that catches on. And now I'm not gonna speak for the Lord. I have no idea, but of the gang that I've invited today, I think all sing. I did invite a couple who weren't able to come, another one who's a musician who wasn't able to make it. So now let's just say God says, I'm prompting in this, and we're going to see this happen. We could literally add to our 7 or 8 choir vocalists another 6 or 7 people. Now, I highly doubt all 14, 15, 16, whatever that might be, would be available every single time. That tends to not happen. We have life, and we have schedules, we have work, we have whatever, other responsibilities. But a bigger presence is what we're after, okay? So if you're in that group, let me also say this. Or maybe I have this somewhere else in my notes. If I don't, if I do, I'll come back to it. Or I won't say it later. Lead vocals who are not scheduled on those 4 Sundays are encouraged and not required by any means, but encouraged and would be welcome in participating as a choir vocalist. Okay? Now, because of the rotation, we kind of have a thing where we say we're trying not to have people serve more than 50% of the time. That's kind of our number to keep a balance between sitting and serving. There's a necessity for sitting. We all recognize that. However, there are times and there are seasons. This happened, I'm going to embarrass my son. There was spring quarter. I didn't have any bass players. I had Ryan, who was committed to faithful to his turns and his abilities. He didn't step out that quarter. But we had another guy who stepped out fully. We had John, who actually will be watching this. Hi, John. On video later. John was unable to commit to that quarter because of work. Matt was a busy quarter in the back with Gozo, and I don't know if I might have got him in once.
The baby.
Oh yeah, that's right. Kelvin had a baby. Had a baby and took it back. As a matter of fact, that reminds me, Kylie had a baby, which took not only like Dylan from acoustic, or put Dylan on acoustic, covering some of that. God brought Carmen along. Carmen joined the team, but Dylan ended up much more than 50% of the time. All I'm saying is there are times where we see that happen and we all kind of go, you know what, I'll take one for the team. This is what we'll do, but it's not our norm. It's not our norm to have people scheduled more than they're able to sit and serve in a different way as just part of the body, okay? So that is to say that all of our vocalists, lead vocalists and choir vocalists, look at your, because you already know where you're scheduled, look at your availability for being a choir vocalist. You are anyway. You just have a secondary role as a lead vocalist, okay? So you can look at that. I'm going to tell you this. Most of our vocalists, barring a few, are scheduled about once a month. That's about the norm for our rotation, okay? This opportunity, not that I would necessarily recommend it, but you literally could sing every Sunday with a choir vocal group. Again, we're not starting there, we're starting with 1, and then we'll start with 2. So even at 2 a month, that's 6 times, which is probably double the amount of times we've been able to schedule you because we've had this beautiful, huge rotation of vocalists. So that's what I'm talking about, expanding a bit and making it more accessible. You're somebody who goes, Dana, oh my gosh, I would love to sing every week. Just God has been so good, and I want to sing every week. Well, I probably won't let you sing every week. You should account for your own self and what you know. But we are going to try to find a balance, but you're going to have more opportunity. Make sense? So choir vocals, lead vocals. Everybody can kind of sign up on there. We're going to talk more about how we're going to do a belt and suspenders. That's my husband's phrase, but you know what I mean? We're going to do both things. We're going to talk about Planning Center, we're going to kick it off, and at the same time, we're going to be using the blog spot, the schedules, the emails, we're going to be doing kind of both for the next couple of quarters until we transition. We did that very much with, I used to use a PDF and send out a schedule in the body of an email. Then we moved to this blog spot, which we'll talk about later with communication. The blog spot, now we shifted over the course of about 2 quarters or maybe even 3, because I just want to make sure everybody had all the information, till I just send the email that says, hey gang, your schedule's up on the blog spot. And you're all adults, and you'll check it, and you've all done a great job with that, and not, keeping up on that stuff. But we'll do kind of both as we shift. So that's why I had the paper today. You're going to see it come out differently when Emily talks through Planning Center, but that's going to get us going, okay? Now, let me just say this closing. Those of you, like I said, who I've invited that are newer, especially the Miracle Wallace's group that's newer to Hope, the Lord has used you in serving in music ministry, and we're going to trust Him, we're going to trust you to follow His heart and His prompting, okay? So as you guys have questions or things, Rael and Bethy and John, you guys have been around, but not necessarily serving here. As you're hearing things and digesting things, ask me, talk to me, but I would say all of you, as you feel prompted, can feel free to jump in on this quarter, okay? That's, you know what I mean? I feel like that's kind of where we are. And then as you write those things down, we'll follow up. You know what I mean? We'll follow up and like, oh dear, you can't sing at all. No. You know what I mean? We'll follow up with that. So, but I'm just saying, feel free to participate in that. We're gonna break for lunch. Hey babe, how are we? How close are we? Okay, perfect. So, come talk some more. It's a lot to chew on. I know it's a lot to chew on. We're going to jump into more stuff with Planning Center that will feel like more to chew on, but I promise you, you're going to love it. So, when we do break, we want you guys to feel like you have, some time to just like inhale, breathe. So, the last 5 minutes here while Mark's setting up. Questions, thoughts, feedback, Pam.
I have a question about, and maybe you'll get into this in the housekeeping and nuts and bolts, so you can always say, well, later, but how will the rehearsals with the all that work with either the choir, and I heard you say like. we'll-
Separate room,
choir-
right.
No, but does that impact anything we're doing with words and that kind of, that's what I'm.
Got you. So, no, that's a good question, and we may, but I will tell you right now, it won't impact anything.
Won't change anything.
Right now, the only thing that we would be doing, and this is gonna come out, and we're gonna make some adjustments for our tech teams, and we'll talk about why you guys aren't on Planning Center currently. We're gonna get into that, but eventually will be. So I'll be communicating tech teams, Alex and Eric, especially through you guys, and then you guys will be kind of under them. Those 4 weeks that we have the choir vocals scheduled, rehearsal will be bumped a half an hour up. So 4 o'clock for band and words and sound, and then likely we'll be done sooner. Okay, now, I don't know if that's going to stick. I don't know if we may be moving choir vocals to rehearse midweek. I don't know, and I hate the I don't know. Like, I would so much rather have it all, hey, here's the plan, I just unfolded it. That, it's a walk of faith. Sometimes you go, that didn't work, let's try this. There's some bumps as we go. So that is the current plan. That will not change. For the choir vocals, when we rehearse, we are not going to use the monitor, and we won't. We're gonna use lyrics, or I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll figure out what we're going to do. Which maybe we will. Maybe we'll go back to this. Like we have the singer charts back there that we use for words. We may do something like that in preparation, but you'll have them on a Sunday morning. And you'll have them, and when you run through, they'll all be there. So your job on words won't shift much. Make sense? Okay. Other info, guys? Feedback? Questions?
Please don't do this week.
I know. Jason is a high school music teacher at Gateway.
He would love to teach.
And he can't stand that everything we do happens to be on Wednesdays, because that's when he has your ensemble group, right? Yeah. So that tends to be the like every year when we're ready for Christmas, I'm like, Jason, when can you come to, when can you be here? Last year we didn't have him at all. Yeah, it didn't work out at all just because we couldn't, line it up. So that's some of the stuff, that's just some of the, as we see what works, as I get feedback from you guys, because I know I'm up here like, this is the plan, but I'm still a human being, and I want to go, what works? Sometimes the great idea doesn't work, and I want it to work, because I want it to work for you, but it doesn't work, and we just have to call it, you know what I mean? So I don't know if Saturdays, we are definitely going to do the 4 for this quarter as Saturdays, and we're going to talk more about that when Emily talks through Planning Center, but you can write that down. Write it in stone, whatever. You can write it down. That is what we're going to do. 4 o'clock, lead vocals by 4:30. Choir vocals, instead of showing up at 5 like you have been, you'll show up at 5:30. Okay? And that may shift in the quarter between 5:30 and 6, depending on who's leading and what we have going on and how well it worked. Okay? But we'll start with that for this quarter. And then we have all the Christmas stuff going on. So we'll get into Christmas, and then we'll come back with the January, February, March deal, okay? And within that quarter, we will also have a 4th, because we'll have a praise service as well. Okay? Should I just make you guys keep staring at me, or should we? Yeah, I'm thinking we're 5 minutes early. Don't go back for lunch quite yet, but if you wanna grab, babe, what are you gonna do with drinks? Okay, so drinks will be out. Is it just drinks? Do you feel good about where we are with just drinks coming? Okay, listen, let's quick pray. Your names are on your lunches in case you forgot what you ordered. Okay, we had a few special requests. There were some special things. I know we got a vegetarian, so I'm making sure I really try to make sure we got everything organized. I think you